What's going on guys, it's Baz here from Gaming Gem, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Wolves Skoll. Wolves have kind of come out of nowhere, but the Skoll has caught a lot of ergo lovers' attention. It's effectively a Zowie EC clone, but there are some differences, which we're going to get into in a little bit more detail. I don't usually talk about the packaging of the mouse I review, but the Skoll comes in a really nicely designed box, and the designs themselves vary. I think this is a really nice touch by Wolves that really goes above any of the mouse I've recently reviewed, particularly the Ultralight 2. I mean, if you take a look at the boxes side by side, you can see what I mean. Alongside the mouse, you get your extra mouse feet, alcohol pads for replacing the feet, and a sticker. If you choose to receive the extra paracord, you'll also receive that under the plastic packaging. As of the 6th of September 2019, Wolves have also improved the contents of what you get inside the box. You now get skins or grip tape to put on the mouse for extra grip, and you also get replacement switches for the mouse 1 and mouse 2 buttons. You still get the extra paracord as well. Really nice to see the amount of extras provided by Wolves, particularly the grip tape. Unfortunately, I received my Skoll before they made these changes, so I won't have the grip tape to review. Before I get into the specs of the mouse, I want to talk about a small problem that I had with the mouse. When I started playtesting, I immediately noticed that the left hand side was flexing quite significantly, to the point where I could feel it and hear it click. It was driving my OCD nuts, so I emailed support asking what to do and whether I'd had a defective unit. They said that this was actually a common problem with the mouse and that it's an easy fix, and linked me to a download video which showed how to fix it. The fix itself is fairly simple. You have to take the mouse apart and apply some sticky strips to the inside of the mouse shell on the left hand side. Instead of strips, I just used sticky tape, and I've seen other people use Tipex too if you're from the UK. After putting on the tape, I assembled the mouse back together and it was completely fixed. There was no more audible click and the flexing had pretty much been removed altogether. So my main gripe with this is that it's good that they had an easy fix available, but we shouldn't really need to take the mouse apart to fix it straight out the box. Not only that, but to take the mouse apart you have to remove the feet, which means that the feet aren't usable after you've removed them unless you do it extremely carefully. So you end up having to use some of your spare feet straight out the box. So as I say, this fix did actually solve the problem, and I haven't experienced any other durability problems with the mouse. It doesn't flex anymore, and overall the honeycomb design does feel structurally solid. Wolves have also said that they've actually fixed the sidewall flex in more recent copies. But that's my main gripe with the mouse, so let's jump into what I do like about the mouse and take a look at the specifications in a little bit more detail. So if you're familiar with the Zowie EC series, I'm going to use those mice as a little bit of a benchmark so that you can get an idea how big the Skoll is in comparison. The length of the Skoll is coming in at 12.5 centimeters or 125 millimeters. The width is coming in at 6.8 centimeters or 6 to 8 millimeters, and the height is coming in at 4.2 centimeters or 42 millimeters. So the Skoll is right in between the EC1 and the EC2 series, EC1 being the larger of the Zowie mice and EC2 being the smaller. However, it is worth knowing that the Wolves Skoll is actually wider than both the EC1 and the EC2, with the Skoll at 6 to 8 millimeters wide, the EC1 is 64 millimeters wide, and the EC2 is 61 millimeters wide. The main attraction of the Skoll though is its weight, which is 66 grams, which is significantly lighter than any of the Zowie EC mice. The EC1 for comparison is 94 grams and the smaller EC2 is 90 grams. So there's a huge difference in weight here, and you can really feel it in the hand. Moving on to the sensor, the Skoll is using the PMW 3360, which is a great sensor, which a lot of you will be familiar with already since a lot of mice are using the 3360 at the moment. There's absolutely no jitter skipping or tracking issues whatsoever, so nothing to worry about here. And the DPI goes up to 12,000, which can be configured on the bottom of the mouse or within the Wolves Skoll software. Moving on to the shape in a little bit more detail, I just want to say that this is probably the most comfortable mouse I've ever used. Although I'm not an ergonomic mouse fan, I have always found that the Zowie EC series shape has been particularly comfortable. So considering the Skoll is just basically a carbon copy of the EC series shape with a few tweaks, I can tell you that this is a very comfortable mouse. Compared to the EC series though, the Skoll feels a lot fuller and takes up more of my palm, so it does provide really nice support for palm grip players, which the EC series and Skoll is definitely geared towards. Overall, the shape is very safe and it would have been hard to mess this up, considering it's been used by CS pros for so many years. Wolves have just made their own twist on some of the metrics to give it a slightly different feel. Obviously, since it's an ergonomic mouse, it is geared slightly more towards palm grip players, but of course the Skoll can be used by claw grip players too. I think fingertip players will probably struggle to use it a little bit just because of how high the hump is, and that's just natural with these type of ergonomic mice, but like with anything with mice, it's totally personal preference. The sides of the Skoll are practically identical to the Zowie EC series. The left side has your typical thumb comfort grooves that tapers off at the top. The right hand side has the gradual slope, which provides really nice support for your ring finger and or pinky. This is a great mouse for anyone that uses a 1-2-2 grip, as there's plenty of room for your fingers. Moving over to the buttons, there's been some reports that the Skoll Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 have felt really mushy. I haven't found this on my copy. There is however some post-travel which some may find a little bit annoying. Here's a quick look at the pre-travel and post-travel. As for the side buttons, they feel really tactile and responsive. The feedback is much better compared to the EC series. I've been mashing these buttons in Fortnite and they are holding their own against the G Pro Wireless. I've actually been really impressed with the side buttons here. The scroll wheel is decent, it's not the best I've tried, but definitely doesn't let the mouse down by any means. The click itself is better than the EC series as well, and the steps feel consistent and noticeable. I find the Zowie EC series scroll wheel to be particularly poor. It feels mushy and the steps do not feel consistent. The Skoll improves upon this completely. There's two buttons on the base of the mouse. One controls the DPI, which allows you to toggle between the preset values, and the second button on the right allows you to cycle through the RGB modes. All these settings can also be controlled from within the Skoll mouse software. The Skoll's cable is honestly amazing. I think Glorious has met its match here when it comes to the paracord. It's very flexible, and honestly I don't even think it's worth upgrading it to a third-party paracord, especially if you have a bungee. I just don't think the difference would be that noticeable. The nose of the cable is also nicely lifted up from the base of the mouse, so you don't need to worry about any cable drag whatsoever. The mouse feet didn't impress me quite so much. I did feel that they were a little lackluster. I think the mouse could definitely use some hyperglides or third-party feet, which would make the mouse even better. The Skoll does have software which does its job, but it's definitely not the most user-friendly. There's a lot of spelling mistakes and some of the UI is actually out of focus. It doesn't take away any functionality though. Overall it's usable, but it could definitely use some TLC. You won't really need to use the software though unless you want to either configure the DPI steps, configure the RGB differently, or create some macros or switch up the button assignment. The overall durability on the mouse feels really solid. Obviously I did mention at the start that when playtesting the mouse I did find that the left hand side was flexing significantly. It was an easy fix, and since then the mouse has been solid. I've not noticed any problems whatsoever. Overall, the Skoll to me is basically an upgraded Zowie EC. It's lighter, has better clicks and a better scroll wheel. The mouse feet and sidewall flex let it down slightly, however Wolves have fixed this in the more recent copies. If you're looking for a new ergo mouse, then the Skoll should definitely be at the top of your list to check out. That's it from me guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe as usual, and stay tuned for the Model O- review coming up in the next few weeks. I've also got my hands on the XM1, which I'm currently testing too. Also let me know in the comments whether you would like some comparisons of certain mice and I can make a more in-depth video.